Hey guys, I'm here today with the first part of our tutorial for our mini album, which is going to go over our cover and making our base pages. Enjoy! Okie dokie, hello guys, it's LJ here. So I'm going to be making a new mini album, and I've had a lot of requests for tutorials, so I'm going to give it a go. I've never done a tutorial of this length. This is going to have to be split up into parts. So what I will do is try and figure out parts that are not too long, but that get enough done. And you know, I'll try and leave as much as I can at normal speed so that you can see. But there are days where I'm moving slower, so I might speed it up slightly, but I will try and get everything explained to you so that you can see exactly what is going on and what I'm doing. So we're going to start off. This is our chipboard size. There we go, in inches and in centimetres for you. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that down. Now I have my normal paper trimmer, but I'm not going to use that for my chipboard. I've got an old one which had started to give up. The blade wasn't the best, but it will cut chipboard. It just means it's not completely smooth, which is why I don't use it for paper. So we're going to get out this one, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with this cutting. It just, I couldn't get the right blades anymore. They were becoming very expensive to get. They weren't available in the UK, so that's why I bought a different trimmer. But this trimmer is absolutely brilliant. As you'll see, it still cuts chipboard, so there's no real problem with it. It was just leaving those like furry edges on my paper, which was just, well, to me it wasn't worth the hassle. So we're going to start off with our chipboard. Now I keep all my offcuts of chipboard because you never know when you might need thin bits for whatever reason. I used to buy my chipboard in a multi-pack, which came with some 12x12, some 8x8, some A4 and some 6x6. That pack I can no longer find, so I'm going to be buying it only in 12x12 from now on, but these are the remnants that I've got. Before I start on these big ones, I'm going to see what we've got. So we want a 7x8. So if I pull out my legs for this, so we want 7x8. So let's see, what size are these? These are 8x8, and I've got 6 of those, so I can do my front and back cover with those. And then for my spine, I want by 3.5. So those are definitely going to be too small. So we want an 8 by 3.5. So there we go. That's 8.25 by 4. So I could use that piece. The thing we're going to do is do our spine, which is 8 by 3.5. So I'm going to start off by doing 3.5. And what I've discovered with this is if I do it like that, it goes through part way. If I then turn it over and do that there, it is almost through. So you just need to go a couple of times. Obviously this blade is very old, as I've said. You just need to get through enough layers excuse me, to be able to tear it off like so. This bit is less than an inch, but these are really good for adding dimension to things on your cover. I'll explain that when we get there. So we're at 3.5 and we want 8. So where is my 8 there? I'll put this side just so I can line it up perfectly. There is 8. I'm not taking much off this bit. And there we go. So it takes off little, you do get a bit of an edge, but because I wrap my chipboard, you're never going to see it. So I'm not bothered by that. If that doesn't work for you, then please feel free to change it. So these pieces are already 8 by 8. So I'm just going to cut one of them down to 7. One side down to 7. And again, I'm just going to do a couple of goes that way. And a couple of goes this way. And if you've got more strength, you may be able to cut through a bit quicker than I can. Is that one done yet? Right, we'll do one more on each side. This is tedious. And yes, cutting it with my other trimmer would probably be a lot easier. But I would rather not use my nice blade that cuts paper beautifully onto some chipboard. So there is that. And then we'll do one more at 7. I'm going to use this hand because this hand is definitely stronger today. How are we doing? Not quite there yet. We're getting there. We're getting there. Obviously, if you have other ways to cut chipboard, or you know, however you want to do it, please do it your way. This is just the way that I do it. So here we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to add these on to some cover. So I'm going to go off camera. I'm going to cover these with double-sided tape. So I've got some thicker rolls and some thinner rolls. Is this one 3/8, I believe, which is a really good one to have. No, 1/4 inch. This one is 1/4 inch. And run out of my 3/8. Yeah. And then I've got this thicker one, which is 2 inches. So I'm going to coat these in some double-sided tape, and then I'll come back to you. So we're just going to join these together just by putting our tape along the edge. Of 2 of them. And joining them together like so. Now I'll take off a little bit of the tape. Line this up so it's just covering the tape, but you want the top and bottom to be level, like so. Remove the tape. There's one. It's going to get a little bit tight for a minute or two because I've got 3 sheets of A4 here, but we'll do the same here. Going to line this up, make sure it's nice and straight, remove the tape and stick it down. Okay, and then these will be stuck like so. Okay. start off placing our spine piece. Now, as well as this tape, I'm going to also use glue. And piece of advice, these thicker, if you've got a thicker tape, keep this, because then if you want to cut foam tape, you stick it to this and your scissors don't get sticky. Just some extra bits. These thin ones you can get rid of, they're sort of too thin to really be used in the same way, but the thicker pieces are very useful, very, very useful. Okay, so take these off and then we're going to add on some, oh my gosh, come on, okay, get rid of this, add on some glue. So I'm going to use my art glitter glue. There is no glitter in it, it's just the name. It is a lovely glue, it dries clear, doesn't warp your paper. Can be quite tricky to get here in the UK, according to some people, but I've managed to find it on Amazon and it arrived really quickly. I've just got a couple of new bottles, just as you can see this one is on its way out. So what you want to do is you want to centre it top and bottom and between the two joins. Okay, so just like so. And then we're just going to use this one because it's a bit wider. This is just a cake scraper, but it's good for getting even pressure across a larger area. So I'm going to stick these on in exactly the same way, leaving about 2/8 of an inch, an 1/8 to 2/8. It doesn't really need to be any bigger than that. You just want enough that when you close it, it's not going to crack or tear. Okie dokie, so we've stuck all of our bits and pieces on. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to trim down these ends. We do not need them this long. They need to be about 1 inch. So I'm just going to, you can use your trimmer if you want. I'm just going to cut them down like so. It doesn't need to be perfect. It's not going to be seen. Second thing you need to do is remove the corners. Now, where's my pencil? You want to cut off the corners so that you don't get bulk when you fold it. But if you cut right against here, you're going to see your chipboard. So you sort of want to cut across and leave about 1/8 of an inch, roughly. It doesn't need to be exact. Just as long as there is a little bit of the card still showing for when we wrap it. Because you don't want to be able to see that chipboard. Now, the top and bottom are quite wide as well. If you want to, you could trim them down. I'm not going to. There's no real need. It's just going to be a faff to actually go across and trim them. So, we're going to go with sticking. For this, I'm using some red liner tape. I don't know if you get this in America. It's basically just a very strong double-sided tape. So I'm going to use this and I'm going to use glue to do our cover. So the first thing with the red liner tape, I'm going to go right to the edges. And this tape you have to cut, you can't rip because it is too strong. So we'll do all 4 outside edges with this red tape. Okay, get it on there. And we'll go and burnish it in a second because this one does need burnishing, and I'll show you the thing I like about this tape in a second. Push that over a little bit because I managed to bend the edge, which was a bit silly. Okay. The only downside is these do stick to each other in the drawer, and you end up with the little stringy bits. Well, I do. I don't know what other people do. I end up with little stringy bits. And where are we? I've lost the end now. Where are you? There you are. And for those of you who are asking why I'm not wearing gloves today, 2 reasons. One is they're in the wash, and 2 is my hands were too swollen this morning to get them on, which is why we ended up putting them in the wash, because if I can't wear them, there's no point. We did try for about half an hour to get them on and it didn't work. So I'm just going to burnish this tape in. I don't know if you can see on camera, but if I bring this one up, you see it's not a solid colour, whereas this one, when you press it down, you get rid of all the air bubbles and you end up with a solid colour. I might try and zoom the video in when I'm editing so you can see what I mean, because in person it's very obvious. I'll take that corner off because I ended up folding it on itself. So we've done that. We're then going to use some ordinary, I've got a hair in there. Great. How on earth? I think that might even be a cat hair, you know. Anyway, we're going to do some normal double-sided tape on the edge of the chipboard pieces. You can do a full line across if you like. I don't. I do a strip on each piece of chipboard, but I know some people just do a line the whole length, and either way works. You do whichever works best for you. I just find this gives another point of grip, which is important. We want this to grip completely, because what we don't want is you to have put all this hard work into your album and then have it all fall apart. So as well as this, I am going to be using some glue. So I'm going to do the short ends as well. Not going all the way to the ends with these, and I'll explain why in a second. So there is all the tape on. Let's give that a quick burnish as well. Excellent. So I'll remove these. Before we do anything else, we're going to fold our card first, because if you put the glue on and then fold it, it could end up sticking wonky. And I learnt this trick from the lovely Rosa Kelly. She calls it massaging your cardstock, and I think it works really well. So we'll start with the longer sides. First of all, we're just going to go along and bend it up, pushing with my thumbs against this chipboard edge. So I'm just pushing it up. Okay, so then when you've got it up, then we're going to push it over, and I'm starting in the middle and I'm going to go out. Now I do find this quite tricky with my hands, so I will use my my burnishing tool as well, but you don't need to. I just don't particularly have that much strength in my hand. So I'm going to do this to all 4 sides. to start with the long edge. So we're going to remove our tape backing first of all. So we'll take off all 3 of these and our edging piece with our red liner. Okay. We are going to put a bead of glue along the edge of the chipboard so that the card has a sticking point there. And then we're just going to do a zigzag along here. Again, you just want to add some strength, and I'm just going to put a little bit over that glue so the edge is down. And same way, push up from the middle, run your thumb along the edge, getting that glue that's in the crease, and then bend it over. And because we've pre-bent it, it just goes exactly where you want it to go. And you don't have to worry about it. So that's that done. Do the same on this edge. Okie dokie, so we're going to do the short ends. The thing that I wanted to tell you here is we do exactly the same as normal. So you've got your tape or your glue, however you are sticking your cover to your chipboard. But with the short ends, it's a really important thing that I missed on the other end. So I'm going to go through it with you now. So if you leave it and just fold it over now, you will get a point. So what you need to do is on the corner, you just need to push that edge bit round. You can use your nail, your pokey tool, your bone folder, anything just to push that corner round, which means you won't get a sharp point on the corner, which means A, it will last longer, and B, it won't hurt anybody. Other than that, it's exactly the same as doing the long sides. Okie dokie, then we're going to fold. So where you've got your gap between your chipboard, just gently run your bone folder along so that you score that card, and then using that or a ruler, you can fold each side of your spine piece. You're not pushing hard, you're just doing a gentle score so that this will help you fold it up nicely, and then hold it against it so that you don't get any bubbling. So that is our cover sorted. We're going to do our binding next. Now this is going to be a baby's first year, which means that I know exactly how many signatures I'm having. So I do month by month. So I need 6. Okie dokie guys, so we're going to do our hinges now. So for your hinges, you need a piece of cardstock, the same as your binding, your cover, sorry, and your pages will be. If you want, you could do a different colour, I suppose. That is 7 5/8 by 11. So our pages are going to be 7 3/4, and we want this to be just ever so slightly smaller, just so you can slide them on easily. You could do it the same as your pages and notch the edges, but I've always struggled with that. I find this way much easier. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a 1/2 inch gusset between each page, and we're going to have a 1/2 inch hinge. So 2 1/2 inches folded together. So starting at 3/4, you're going to do your first score line at 3/4. Okay, so that is going to be what goes on your front cover. Then you are going to score every 1/2 inch until 10 1/4. I will put them on the screen. So 3/4 of an inch, 1 1/4, 1 3/4, 2 1/4, 2 3/4, 3 1/4, 3 3/4, 4 1/4, 4 3/4, 5 1/4, 5 3/4, 6 1/4, 6 3/4, 7 1/4, 7 3/4, 8 1/4, 8 3/4, 9 1/4, 9 3/4, 10 1/4, and then you've got your 3/4 tab left at the end. Now we're going to do it on the front because you're not going to see this. So I want you to ignore the first panel. Then I want you to write 1 2 3, 1 2 3, 1 2 3, 1 2 3, 1 2 3, 1 2 3, 1 dash. Okay. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to bend pinch 2 and 3 up so that it sticks up. Okay, does that make sense? So your first one. So skip 1, we're going to bend 2 and 3 together. Now some albums where I have less signatures, I will do 3/4 inch hinges, and that makes it a lot easier. I didn't want to do 3/4 inches on this because then I'd have to join 2 pieces of paper together and you just get a lot of bulk. So yeah, so again, skip 1, we're going to pinch 2 and 3 together. Okay, so now we've got 3. Skip 1, pinch 2 and 3 together, skip 1, pinch 2 and 3 together, skip 1, pinch 2 and 3 together. Okay, what I would then do is just burnish these down, just fold them all towards you, give them a burnish, okay, just so that they know that that's where they need to fold. Okay, so do all 6. Okay, and then I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to bend them all the other way and give them a burnish, because these are your hinges. Your pages need to be able to turn back and forwards with ease, so you want to make sure that these will bend both ways. Okay. Right, now turn it over. Where you've got your dips, we're going to put tape on one side, only on one side. So I'm just going to put it here on the flat side. Don't stick it on the score line. You want it inside that flap. Skip 2, put your tape on. Skip 2, put your tape on. Skip 2, put your tape on. I'm using slightly thicker tape for this. It's not as strong, but it is thicker, and so for this purpose that's fine, because I'm going to be using glue as well. So skip 2, tape on, skip 2, put your tape on. Now you should have, because we have 6 hinges for this particular album, 6 strips of tape. 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, so start with this one. Take the backing off. I'm going to add some glue over the top just because. Alright, and then we're just going to fold this on top. So carrying on where it was bent previously, and then I'm just going to press that down and do that with all the rest. we've got our hinges, so I'm just going to stand them back up. Okay, so that is our set of hinges. What I'm now going to do is using our 1/4 inch tape, because these are 1/2 inch. If you have a 3/4 inch gusset, you could use 1/2 inch tape. You want tape smaller than your hinge. Okay, and I'll explain why. So this is going to go on the very top edge. Very top edge of each hinge. Okay, and what this does is this shows you, when you add your page on, where to line your page up with. Okay, because you don't want it right at the bottom, because your pages won't turn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on both sides at this top edge of each hinge. Whoop. Twisted the tape. So all along that top edge, like so. So on the front and the back at the top edge. Okay, I'm going to do all of those. Go, we've got our hinges secured, we've got our tabs. I'm now going to put some tape all over the back of this, so let's flatten this down again, and I'm going to cover this back piece with tape. Again, I'm going to use my larger one for some of it and my smaller one. Okie dokie, so we are going to sit our hinges. I stand them up a bit, makes it a bit easier to see. So we do have these score lines at 3/4 inch from each end, but I haven't bent those yet. I've not bent and burnished those yet. They should line up with these, and if I put them in there they do, but it's easier to stick first and then burnish. So what you want to make sure, you can push this down to bend, so you should see a little dent top and bottom of each. Just go over it again if you can't quite see it. If your cover's been bent, then it'll be there fine. So we are going to centre this top and bottom, so we want about 1/4 inch, not even 1/4 inch, just shy of 1/4 inch, 3/16 I'd say, top and bottom. Okay, and we want to try and line this score line up with these pieces. Now this bit is tricky. I've used tape, but I'm going to use glue as well. If you are very confident, then by all means go ahead, use tape and just whack it on there. If you are not confident at all, then possibly just go with the glue, because it will give you, especially if you use a slower drying glue, something like the Beacon Fabri-Tac or Beacon 3-in-1, that gives you wiggle room, lets you move things around a bit. I'm okay with mine, so I'm going to use the art glitter glue, just because I know how long that takes to set up, and I will have enough time to get it where I want it. So yeah, make sure that you have got an idea of how you're going to put it in, where you need it to be, and make sure that you have got enough adhesive on there. What you do not want, and I cannot stress this enough, you do not want your hinges lifting up with the weight of your pages. And your pages are going to be heavy, you know, especially with 6 signatures. That's 12 pages of flips, flaps, papers and photos, you know, as well as any other embellishments you choose to put on there. So it's gonna it's not, you know, this is going to take quite a weight. So you need to make sure that you have got enough adhesive on here. I mean, you can see how much glue I'm adding. I've already got tons of tape on there, every inch near enough, covered in tape, and then I'm just adding lots of glue. So I'm going to line this up. I apologise, my head is going to be just above for a second while I make sure that that is lined up. Right, once you are done, you want to, so you need to go round and go all the way up to the edges of each hinge, okay, because you want to make sure that that glue is sticking down. And as you can see, I haven't even put my tape on this one yet, because I wanted to make sure that I filmed this while I remembered that it needed to be filmed. So just go between each set of hinges, making sure that it is adhering to that chipboard below it, okay? And then obviously all the way out on these sides as well you want, okay? Any glue that pops out, just wipe that off. This glue dries clear, so it's not a problem anyway. Then you're going to follow your line down nice and gently. You don't want to press this too harshly, because you will end up cracking your card, and then, well, that's ruined. You're going to have to start it all again. So we push that in, and then we're going to bend that up. I'm going to do the same on this side. Ensure we are following this line. And then there you go. You have your hinges in. Now, if like me, you haven't done your tape yet, that's fine. You can do it now. We've got our book covered. We've got our hinges in. What we're now going to do is just put a piece over here to secure everything down. These are, just to remind you, 7 by 8. 7 by 8, yes. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this. I am just going to use the glue because we don't need this bit. You can use tape if you want. You can use a combination of both. I am just going to use tape. Just going to line it up nicely. So we've got an even layer top and bottom. I do use this little tool, but you can use a bone folder, you could use a ruler, you could use your hand, you could use, as I did, one of these tape spreaders. This I got off Wish. Just because it's a wider one, so it gives me a little bit more room to spread. And I've lost a corner here. For some reason we've got no glue in this corner. I don't know why we've got no glue in this corner. That's a little bit frustrating. There we go. That's better. That's better. Okay. You can do the same on this back piece. See, this has got a really nice weight to it already. It just feels so nice and sturdy. Yeah, I'm really pleased so far. Right, what's next? So our next step is to make our 6 pages. They are going to be pocket pages, which means that they have space in the centre for a pull-out. So our pages for this, let me get my trimmer while I'm talking to you. So our cover is 7 by 8 and our pages are going to be 6 1/4 by 7 3/4. So some people do this in different ways. I'm going to try and explain it to you. Right, if I cut this in half. So what some people do is they get 2 pieces, they make one bigger than the other, so ignore that piece. So this is how they do it. So they've got a big piece and a smaller piece. On the bigger piece they do a fold and a fold, and they glue it on top to make a page with a pocket in. I do it a slightly different way. So I get 2 sheets that are the same size and I fold on one end. So I fold that on one end, I fold that on one end, and then I stick them together like so. For me, I just feel like that gives it more security. It's stronger, in my opinion. You don't have to agree with me, but this is my opinion. So we'll get 2 and put them both together. So 6 1/2. And I'm going to keep these bits. That blade does not want to work today. 6 1/2. And then 7 3/4. So we want to cut this at 8 1/4. Do one because it's apparently playing up. So 8 1/4 on both pieces. 8 1/4. Okay. And then on the 8 1/4 side, we're just going to score at 1/2 inch. Okay, on both of them, 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch. Okay. And this is just my way. If you do it a different way, if you join your pages together differently, if you choose to do both hinges on one piece of cardstock, that is absolutely fine. These are all just personal preference. I've just discovered that this way is the best for me. I feel like this gives me A, the most strength, and B, it's just easier to put together. But again, this is all just my opinion. You could totally disagree with me and that is absolutely fine. So for this I'm going to use my red liner tape, because again our base page, we want this to be quite secure. So I'm going to stick the red liner tape across the tab on both pieces. You could use any tape you like, you could use glue, you can use a combination. It is totally up to you. This is just my preference for the products that I can get hold of easily. Okay. First thing we're going to do, we're going to put them together and check, do they fit together? Yes, they do. That's always a good start. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take off our red liner tape and cover this whole tab liberally, if I can get any more out of this bottle, with glue. again, I like to use both just because I feel that it just gives me more of everything. So we're going to line this up at this end. Okay, we're going to line that up so that I'm happy that we are straight. I'm going to push this down. Going to ensure that they are together. Remove the excess glue. Okay, lift this up. Push this down just to make sure that it is adhered correctly. We'll wipe off that glue because you don't want your pocket page to stick to itself. Perfect. One edge done, and now that this is on, it makes this end even easier to do because it's already in the right place. We just take off our tape. I've got a little bit of red still. There we go. Cover this in glue again. You don't have to do this. You can just use tape. You can just use glue. You can do however you like. This is just my preference. And then we just close this down like so. Give it a press, wipe off any excess glue because I do put a lot of glue on there deliberately. I'm going to open this up and just wipe my hand inside to ensure that we aren't going to stick this page to itself. Okay. And so here is your base page, and when we're done, this will slide on top of your hinge, like so, to fit into your book. Okay. You know what, actually, I think I was right the first time. 6 1/4, guys, not 6 1/2. Just didn't seem right, but no, 6 1/4, not 6 1/2. You're going to need to cut it down, I'm afraid. Well, hopefully you're watching this first, so you don't need to cut it down. Unlike me. Let's not come off, just this edge. See, I write things down, but then I second guess myself. And I hate that I second guess myself. Because I'd planned it. I knew what I was doing. Ah. Note to self, trust yourself more, woman. Right. Let me show you again. Now that we've got the right length. So I'll open that up, we'll pop it on our hinge. And this is what I mean about the tapes. Can you see the tape doesn't go to the bottom of the hinge? So when we pop this over, come on, okay, we're not going to push it flat there because then it can't lie down. So what you do is you line it up, put it out there, we'll line it up with the edge of that tape. And then you have enough room to move it. And then it fits nicely inside your cover. So you're going to need 6 of those. Thank you very much for spending time with me today, guys. Keep safe, keep crafting. I'll see you soon. Bye.